Usually though, when you see places run specials like that, you like that's when you know that they're in the shit. But on today's stream, just looking at recent restaurant news, not only to help further my own knowledge, but I know a lot of people have wanted cooking content. I haven't really been able to provide that, but this is still food, so it's kind of like my compromise at the moment. I really want to do cooking content. I just haven't. There's a lot of there's been a lot of hurdles to it, mainly just the amount of space that I have and trying to set up a whole thing and then having to tear it down. But I've got some ideas kind of in the works for that. But for now, we're gonna run with this, and it gives me an opportunity to kind of talk about something that I really enjoy, really love, and actually have like a pretty solid foundation. So yeah, we're gonna get into it. I've kind of looked through sort of the recent news about food and restaurants. There's not a ton of stuff going on like in the food realm, other than what we talked about last stream with the supply chains, kind of having it having it rough. However, I saw this post with the New York Post that I thought was interesting. So we're gonna take a little peek at it. Since I'm currently working at a bar, I thought it would be somewhat applicable to what I do, although I'm not in the front house part of service. Man, really, pop-up blockers blocked 46 ads. Good job, buddy. The state says New York City restaurants can't offer 25-cent drinks to fight January blues. I'm kind of curious, like, because in January, usually what we'll see in the restaurants is a big slowdown. Christmas is sort of like our last push, Christmas through New Year, because people are home for winter break, and so they're usually out in large groups. You get a lot of large groups coming through, and a lot of restaurants will also do like big platter dinners and stuff. So we see a lot of business, and usually after that we start to see a pretty big decline for a few months. It kind of differs from place to place, but for the most part, I say usually through January, February, you'll get a nice, really solid, big pop of business again for spring break. And then it kind of fizzles down a little bit, usually until the first holiday of the summer. I forget which one it is: Veterans Day, Labor Day, Memorial Day. one of those. The big holiday right before the summer is usually like the kickoff to summer business, at least at the places that I've worked. So it's kind of always just like, how do we get people in the doors? And right now, it's like we're seeing the slowdown, but also with you've got the second wave of COVID, the second strain Omicron or whatever, going around, and it's like a lot of people are really, really sick. So I think a lot of people are staying at home and sick, too scared to go out again. And plus just the general slowdown. So we've been getting hit pretty hard with really slow business days. So it kind of sounds like what they're doing here is they're doing a drink special. Yeah. Let's see. The long arm of the law doesn't like bargain basement cocktail specials, even if they're whipped up to help struggling restaurants run business during a slow January. And that's the thing too, is like, dude, restaurants are really hurting right now. The government did loans for restaurants, but from my understanding, like I don't own a restaurant, so I didn't have to apply for that or delve too far into that. But from my understanding, they were really hard to get because a lot of the times too is like restaurants generally have loans already, so they were hard to get, and they're kind of rough. So some places got them, some places didn't. But if you don't have any business, you can't pay back your loan. So people, it sounds like they're trying to drum up business, and a lot of the times, like, it's stuff like this where it's like 25-cent martinis. Are they making money on this? Possibly. Like, if you cost it all out, like, it's probably you might be able to make it at cost. They're probably losing a little money, but also, like, you get somebody in the door, you give them one 25-cent martini, like, they're probably gonna have a bite to eat, maybe another drink, so it probably works out. So let's see what we got. Anton's West Village Eatery that drew crowds, and a column in last week's side dish with his 25-cent martinis in Manhattan's, slapped by the state liquor authority. Dude, the liquor people, like, do not fuck around. Let's see, and like they'll come in, and like, or trying to order drinks and stuff. If you don't ID them, they'll fine you, like, right then and there. It turns out the booze special that packed him in ran afoul of state law that forbids discounts of more than 50% off normal prices. I don't know how you could prove this, because if the bar sets the prices, like, how are you gonna be like they're like, oh, it's not a, like, for me, I would just be like, oh, it's not a special. That's just our price of Manhattans today. You know what I mean? Like, that's just our price. Sure, it's like, yeah, we sold them for, $8 last week, but, we got to get rid of the product, so here we are. Which I could still see them arguing, I guess, as a special, but I feel like this is kind of like, there's a gray area here with calling it a special. That meant the deal, which was offered during lunchtime, Monday through Fridays, and which was packed inside, was actually illegal. And it's no more. I mean, yes, the place is packed. It broke the internet. See, and that's the thing, though, is like, they may have been fined, but like, their business was in the news. That's publicity right there, like, easy peasy. So maybe it was worth it. I don't know. Never seen such a lunch spot as crowded and vibrant at 2:45 p.m. as I did last Thursday. People were celebrating with friends or working remotely on their computers. The SLA didn't they didn't even get charged. They didn't even get charged. So worth it. Yo, that's so worth it. Like, what? Like, that's just kind of like, hey, don't do that again. So yeah, boom. That's hell yeah. It's kind of, I mean, I'm assuming that they're understanding, like, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, but you can't do that. With the restaurant with a warning, an SLA spokesperson told Side Dish, let's see, only 90 charges, 19 forbids charging a price for that's less than half the typical cost. So now this is saying half the typical cost, so it's just kind of like, the regulars also forbid unlimited all you can drink specials. I mean, that makes sense. The unlimited drinks make sense. Even though some state laws around liquor have been relaxed during the pandemic, like the to-go drinks that the to-go drinks? Like, it's crazy that they can do the drinks through the apps now. At least in, like, some areas. You can get alcohol delivered through Grubhub or, like, Postmates and stuff. And that blew my mind when they released that. However, every time I'm like, dang, I want to get this cocktail delivered, it's like $20. Just like, I don't want it that much. Let's see. Co-owner of Anton's would comment Side Dish, but an Instagram post confirmed that the state had intervened in the restaurant's 25-cent special, which owner told Side Dish last week had been inspired by New Orleans group of establishments that had done the same thing to Goose Business. To Goose Business. I've never heard that slang. Due to an obscure New York state liquor law of which we were completely unaware and for which we received no warning or notice, we can no longer offer 25% martinis in Manhattans. Could they slowly, like, over time, though, could they just slowly drop the price and not call it a special? The new price for martinis in Manhattans is $9. Sorry, not 90. Not 90. That would be insane. $9 during lunch hours. I mean, what was it? 50%? Like, you could drop it, like... Is your Manhattan martini usually $18? Like, I mean, you could drop it down to, like, 50%. Apparently, special prices on liquor wine cannot be offered by anyone establishment regular pricing. Which is luck as we battle through it. And please don't cancel your lunch reservations. Yeah, there's a lot of little laws and stuff that you really gotta make sure you pay attention to, and unfortunately, it is kind of up to the owners and, like, the general manager and head chef to sort of know all those ins and outs. Sometimes, like, though, you can't. Like, sometimes there'll be a thing where the health department is fine with, and you'll go through several health inspections, and then just one day they're like, "Hey, you can't do this," and we're just like, "What do you mean? It's been like this for 10 years," and they're just like, "Oh, you gotta change it." We're just like, the heck? okay. And usually if it also really will depend on your health inspector. Some of them will be like, some of them are a little more lenient, be like, hey, can't have this anymore. And then they'll kind of like let you off with a warning. But when they come back to do their like, if you if you get docked points for health inspection, they come back like within a week to make sure that you fixed it. So, but if you don't, get in trouble. See, dude, every time I would get an inspection, like that morning, like one of our coolers would go down, and I would like, we'd have everything on ice, and like, or most of it pulled out, and they'd just be like, this cooler's not working, and I was like, I know, that's why ice. It's all up to temp, and they're just like, it's not working. It's like, but it's up to temp. So, let's see. Morgan Ram, head of membership at Locks Up, a culturally member-based dating app, celebrated in front of Anton's 3 colleagues, surrounded by the now forbidden drink special. Yeah, and it's a pretty sign. It's like a special. Usually, though, when you see places run specials like that, you like, that's when you know that they're in the shit. You'll see like when you see restaurants starting to run more and more like quarter drink specials and stuff. It's always usually they're having a rough time. So. Many of the state's liquor laws are from early post-prohibition times and should definitely be reviewed to determine their appropriateness in 20. Yeah, exactly. That's another thing too. Is like there's always like these archaic laws that sort of stick around, that are just like, but then again, you know, but yeah, they got off with a warning, so that's pretty solid. Like that's pretty solid. Let's see. There's a workaround. You can offer specials like a total martini that comes with a dozen oysters for free, just not like the other way around. That's absurd. They can torture people, like come in and test your drinks to make sure the alcohol is being watered down. You just have to outsmart them. Has come under fire from fellow restaurateurs like James Melius of Amalia on the Upper East Side, who is also a restaurant lawyer. This lady wants to avoid bars and restaurants and encourage people from getting blackout drunk with all you can drink offers. I mean, I get it. I get it. I get what they're worried about, and like obviously they don't want people getting blackout drunk, but also like there's sort of like that thing too, where it's like, you know, the staff, the bartenders, the managers, they should be watching for that to make sure like, hey, you've had 3 of these, like you're done. Maybe I can offer you a non-alcoholic beverage. Maybe I can offer you some food. So it's sort of like it's a pretty hard smackdown, but again, like they got off with a warning. I agree with this though. Like I don't agree with it. I totally agree with this guy saying it's like it's a PR thing. Like they need to drum some business. It's really rough out there, and I think that's why they got let off with a warning and they didn't get the full on fine, because a lot of these restaurants are always already sort of teetering on the edge. Like we're always on the line of like being too staffed and too understaffed. Because that's just the nature of the beast. Like one day it'll be crazy busy and then the next day there's nothing. So it's rough out there. But enough about food and restaurants. We're gonna switch over to Final Fantasy.